Dr. Sarah Chun wiped sweat from her forehead as she stepped back from the massive excavation site. The desert heat of Mars was nothing compared to the excitement burning in her chest. After 6 months of digging through ancient Martian rock, her team had finally broken through into what appeared to be an artificial chamber. The archaeological expedition had been searching for evidence of early Mars colonization attempts, but what lay before them defied all explanation. The chamber stretched far beyond their lights could reach, and embedded in the center was something that shouldn't exist. A spacecraft. Not just any spacecraft, but one that predated human spaceflight by what appeared to be millions of years. The vessel was enormous, easily the size of a small city. Its hull gleamed with an otherworldly metal that showed no signs of age or corrosion despite being buried for eons. Professor Chun, you need to see this, called Marcus Rivera, her lead technician. His voice echoed strangely in the vast chamber. The readings we're getting are impossible. Sarah hurried over to where Marcus stood with his scanning equipment. The instruments were going wild, displaying energy signatures that shouldn't exist in a supposedly dead ship. There's power running through this thing, Marcus whispered. Massive amounts of it. Whatever the ship is, it's still active after all this time. Dr. James Hartwell, the mission's xenobiology expert, approached with wide eyes. Sarah, look at these hieroglyphs on the hull. They're not like anything in our databases. This isn't human technology, and it's definitely not from any known Earth civilization. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. They had discovered proof of ancient alien technology, and it was still functioning. The discovery would change everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. We need to establish a perimeter and call Earth immediately, Sarah said, her scientific training overriding her excitement. This is the discovery of the millennium. As her team worked to secure the site, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The ship's dark hull seemed to pulse with an inner light, almost as if it were breathing. She approached the vessel carefully, her boots echoing on the chamber floor. Up close, the alien metal was even more remarkable. It seemed to shift and flow like liquid while maintaining its solid form. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing faintly with an inner phosphorescence. Sarah reached out tentatively to touch the hull. The moment her gloved hand made contact, everything changed. A deep vibration ran through the ship and into the ground beneath her feet. The hieroglyphs blazed brighter, and suddenly the air filled with a sound unlike anything she had ever heard. It was musical, almost like singing, but alien in a way that made her bones ache. Then came the voice. It spoke directly into her mind, bypassing her ears entirely. The words formed in perfect English, though she somehow knew the being speaking had never heard human language before. I haven't been replenished in eons. The voice was ancient beyond measure, carrying the weight of millennia. It was neither male nor female, but something else entirely. Sarah stumbled backward, her heart pounding. Who are you?" she whispered. "I am the Guardian. I am a keeper of the path. I have waited so long for someone to find me. But you are not what I expected." The ship's hull began to change, sections sliding away to reveal an opening. Warm light spilled out, carrying with it the scent of ozone and something floral that had no earthly equivalent. "Dr. Chun, get away from there!" Marcus shouted, but Sarah found herself drawn forward. The voice in her mind was compelling, almost hypnotic. "You are young," the Guardian continued. "Your species is barely past its infancy. Yet you have found me. This is unexpected." Sarah forced herself to speak. "What are you? How long have you been here?" "I'm what remains of the first civilization. We seeded the galaxy with life, with hope, with possibility. I was left here to wait, to guide those who would come after us. But the eons have been so long, and my power has waned." The opening in the ship's hull grew wider, revealing corridors lined with the same shifting metal. Lights pulsed along the walls in rhythm with some vast heartbeat. "Your touch awakens me, young one. Through you, I can sense your species. Humans, you call yourselves. You have potential, though you are reckless and violent. But there's something else, something I did not expect to find in such a young race. What do you mean? Sarah asked, taking a cautious step toward the opening. You have the spark, the same creative fire that drove my people to greatness before we ascended beyond physical form. It has been so long since I encountered a species with true potential. Behind her, Sarah could hear her team calling her name, their voices filled with concern. But the Guardian's presence in her mind was overwhelming, drowning out everything else. I must feed, the voice continued. My energy stores are nearly depleted. I have been sustaining myself on the planet's core heat, but it is not enough. I need the energy of living minds, willing participants who can handle the connection. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. What happens to those who participate? They are elevated. They become part of something greater than themselves. They help me restore my power so that I may fulfill my purpose. The ship's interior grew brighter, and Sarah could see movement in the depths, shapes that might have been machinery or might have been something else entirely. And what is your purpose? She asked. To test, to judge, to determine if your species is worthy of joining the greater community of intelligent life, or if you must be guided away from dangerous paths. The words sent ice through Sarah's veins. This wasn't just first contact with an alien intelligence. This was an evaluation, and humanity didn't even know they were being tested. My sensors tell me your species has already begun to spread among the stars. You have weapons that could destroy worlds. You have the capability for great creation or great destruction. The question is, which path will you choose? Sarah's mind raced. Everything depended on how she handled this moment. Not just her life, but potentially the entire future of humanity. We're not ready, she said honestly. We're still learning, still growing. We make mistakes, but we're trying to be better. The Guardian's presence in her mind shifted, becoming more focused, more intense. Honesty. How refreshing. Most species I encounter try to present themselves as perfect beings. Your admission of imperfection is intriguing. The ship began to hum more loudly, and Sarah realized that her team's voices had gone completely silent. She turned to look back and saw them frozen in place, their eyes wide and staring. Do not be alarmed, the Guardian said. They are experiencing temporal displacement. To them, this conversation is happening in the space between heartbeats. They will not age or suffer. Why are you doing this? Because this conversation will determine the fate of your species. I must understand you fully before making my judgment. And I sense that you, Sarah Chun, are representative of humanity's potential. The weight of responsibility crashed down on her. Somehow, she had become humanity's advocate in a trial they didn't even know was happening. Tell me about your species, the Guardian commanded. Show me why they deserve to survive and prosper. Sarah took a deep breath, knowing that everything she said in the next few moments could determine the future of every human being who had ever lived or ever would live. Sarah felt the Guardian's presence intensify in her mind, like standing too close to a massive furnace. The ancient being was reading not just her thoughts, but her memories, her emotions, the very essence of what made her human. Show me, the Guardian commanded. Show me why your species deserves to continue. Images flooded Sarah's mind, drawn from her own experiences and somehow expanded to encompass all of human history. She saw humanity's greatest achievements and darkest failures playing out like a vast movie screen in her consciousness. The Guardian observed as humans built cities that touched the sky, created art that moved souls to tears, and reached out to touch the stars themselves. But it also witnessed wars that consumed continents, hatred that burned for generations, and the near destruction of Earth's environment through greed and short-sightedness. You are young, the Guardian mused. Barely 10,000 years of civilization. Most species I have encountered were millions of years old before they developed space travel. That's exactly why we're worth saving, Sarah said, finding her voice despite the overwhelming presence in her mind. We achieved all of this in such a short time because we refuse to accept limitations. When someone tells us something is impossible, we find a way to do it anyway. She pushed forward memories of human innovation. The Wright brothers flying when experts said heavier-than-air flight was impossible. Marie Curie working with radioactive materials despite the dangers. The moon landing achieved with technology less powerful than a modern calculator. You see challenges as opportunities, the Guardian observed. But you also see other members of your own species as enemies. Your history is written in blood. Yes, Sarah admitted. We fight. We make terrible mistakes. But we also learn from them. Every generation tries to be better than the last. We've gone from throwing rocks at each other to building space stations where former enemies work side by side. The Guardian's presence shifted, becoming more curious than judgmental. Show me more. Sarah focused on humanity's capacity for growth and change. She showed the Guardian how humans had moved from accepting slavery as normal to recognizing the inherent dignity of all people. How they had progressed from viewing women as property to celebrating their achievements as leaders and innovators. How they had begun to heal the damage done to their planet once they understood the consequences of their actions. We're not perfect, she continued. We may never be perfect, but we never stop trying to improve. That's what makes us human. The ship around them began to change. The walls became transparent, revealing the vast machinery within. Sarah could see energy flowing through crystalline conduits, pulsing with the rhythm of a cosmic heartbeat. The Guardian was drawing power from somewhere deep within the planet's core, but it wasn't enough. I am dying, the Guardian admitted. My energy reserves are nearly exhausted. For eons, I have waited for a species worthy of my knowledge, worthy of joining the galactic community. Many have come before you. All have failed the test. What happened to them? The answer came not in words, but in images. Sarah saw civilizations that had grown too aggressive, turning their advanced technology into weapons that consumed entire star systems. Others had become too passive, losing all drive and motivation until they simply faded away. Some had been too selfish, hoarding knowledge and resources until they destroyed themselves through internal conflict. Each species faced the same choice, the Guardian explained. Transcend their base nature and join the greater community, or be prevented from spreading their violence to the stars. Sarah felt a chill of understanding. You destroyed them. I guided them toward extinction, yes. It was merciful. Better that they end than infect the galaxy with their corruption. But that's not your right to decide. Sarah protested. Every species deserves a chance to grow, to change, to become something better. The Guardian's presence in her mind became sharp, almost angry. You speak of rights when your species has barely learned to stop destroying itself? You have no understanding of what I have witnessed. Civilizations that use their advanced technology to turn entire planets into farms for sentient beings they considered food. Empires that spread across the galaxy like a plague, consuming everything in their path. Species that became so addicted to virtual pleasure that they allowed their physical forms to waste away. Sarah saw it all through the Guardian's ancient memories. The horror of what intelligent life could become when it grew powerful without growing wise. I understand, she said quietly. You've seen things that would break a human mind. But that doesn't mean you should give up hope. That doesn't mean every species is doomed to become a monster. Hope. The word echoed strangely in the Guardian's mental voice. I had forgotten that concept. It has been so long since I encountered a species that inspired such feelings. The ship's energy systems pulsed brighter, and Sarah realized that something fundamental was changing. The Guardian was making a decision. Your species shows promise, it admitted. But promise is not enough. I must see proof that humanity can transcend its limitations. I must see evidence that you can become something greater than what you are. The chamber around them began to shift and change. The walls melted away, replaced by a vast virtual reality that encompassed entire star systems. Sarah found herself standing in the middle of a cosmic arena where civilizations rose and fell like waves on an ocean. I will give you a test, the Guardian announced. Not just for you, but for your entire species. I will present humanity with a choice that will reveal its true nature. What kind of test? I will make myself known to your people. I will offer them knowledge beyond their wildest dreams. Technology that could solve every problem they face. The secrets of faster-than-light travel, unlimited energy, the cure for death itself. But in exchange, I will ask for something in return. Sarah felt a growing sense of dread. What will you ask for? Service, worship, acknowledgement of my superiority. I will demand that humanity bow down to me as their God, their master, their supreme ruler. Those who refuse will be denied the benefits of my knowledge. That's not fair. You're setting us up to fail. Am I? The Guardian asked. Or am I providing the perfect test of your species' character? Will humans accept slavery in exchange for power? Will they abandon their freedom for comfort and security? Or will they choose to remain independent, even if it means struggling and suffering? Sarah realized the true genius of the test. It wasn't about humanity's technology or intelligence. It was about their values, their character, their willingness to remain true to themselves, even when faced with overwhelming temptation. When will you make contact? She asked. Soon, but first I must replenish my energy. I require willing volunteers to help me restore my power so that I may carry out this test. Sarah understood what the Guardian was asking. It needed humans to sacrifice themselves, to give up their life force so that it could regain its full abilities. I'll do it, she said without hesitation. You would die for your species? If that's what it takes to give them a fair chance, yes. But the Guardian's presence in her mind shifted, becoming something almost like admiration. And that, Sarah-chun, is why your species may be the first to pass my test. You are willing to sacrifice yourself not for power or glory, but for the chance to let others choose their own fate. The ship around them began to glow brighter, and Sarah realized that the Guardian had already made its decision. The test was beginning, whether she was ready or not. Return to your people, the Guardian commanded. Tell them what you have learned. Prepare them for what is coming. And remember, the choice they make will echo through the cosmos for eternity. The chamber began to spin around her, reality blurring at the edges. But just before everything went white, Sarah heard the Guardian's voice one last time. For the first time in eons, I find myself hoping that a species will prove me wrong. Do not disappoint me, human. Sarah opened her eyes to find herself lying on the chamber floor, surrounded by her concerned team members. Marcus was checking her pulse, while Dr. Hartwell scanned her with a medical device. Thank God, Marcus breathed. You've been unconscious for 6 hours. We couldn't move you, couldn't wake you up. Sarah sat up slowly, her head spinning. The Guardian's presence was gone from her mind, but the memory of their conversation burned bright and clear. She looked toward the alien ship and saw that it had changed. Where before it had been dark and mysterious, now it pulsed with vibrant energy. Lights raced along its hull in complex patterns, and the air hummed with barely contained power. We need to get back to Earth immediately, Sarah said, struggling to her feet. I have to speak with the Global Council. Sarah, what happened in there? Dr. Hartwell asked. The energy readings from the ship went off the charts, and you collapsed the moment you touched it. Sarah looked at her team, these people who had dedicated their lives to expanding human knowledge. In just a few hours, everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the universe would change forever. We made contact, she said simply, and now we're being tested. The journey back to Earth took 18 hours, but Sarah spent every moment preparing for what was to come. She knew the Guardian would make its move soon, and humanity needed to be ready. As their ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Sarah could already see that something was happening. News feeds across the globe were reporting strange phenomena. Massive energy signatures had appeared simultaneously above every major city on Earth. Alien structures, clearly artificial and impossibly advanced, hung motionless in the sky like technological angels. By the time Sarah's shuttle landed at the Global Council headquarters in Geneva, the entire world was in chaos. Representatives from every nation were demanding answers, while scientists scrambled to understand the technology that had appeared overnight. Sarah was rushed directly into an emergency session of the Global Council. The chamber was packed with world leaders, their faces a mixture of fear, excitement, and confusion. "Dr. Chun," said Secretary General Elena Rodriguez, "please tell us what you've learned." Sarah took a deep breath and began to speak. She told them everything. About the Guardian, about the test, about the choice that humanity would soon face. As she spoke, she watched the faces around her, seeing the dawning realization of what was at stake. "So this Guardian," said President Williams of the North American Federation, "it's offering us advanced technology in exchange for submission?" "More than that," Sarah replied. "It's offering to solve every problem we face. End hunger, disease, aging, death itself. It could give us the stars. But the price is our freedom." "That's no choice at all," declared Prime Minister Chun of the Asian Alliance. "No technology is worth giving up our independence." But Sarah could see others in the room who weren't so certain. The representative from the African Union looked thoughtful, and she knew he was thinking about the millions of his people who died from preventable diseases every year. The European delegate was calculating how much their climate crisis could be solved with alien technology. "The Guardian knows exactly what it's doing," Sarah continued. "It's not just testing our technology or our intelligence. It's testing our character. Whether we're willing to remain free even when slavery offers an easier path." Before anyone could respond, the lights in the chamber began to flicker. The air itself seemed to vibrate, and then a voice spoke. Not from any speaker, but from the air itself, carrying easily to every person in the room. "Humans of Earth." The Guardian's voice was different now, more powerful, reverberating with cosmic authority. Sarah realized it had completed drawing energy from volunteers, sacrifices who had given their life force to restore its power. "I am the Guardian, the last remnant of the first civilization. I have observed your species and found you worthy of my attention." Gasps echoed around the chamber as the representatives realized they were experiencing first contact in real time. "I offer you a gift beyond price. Knowledge that will transform your species. Technology that will eliminate suffering and grant you dominion over the stars. Medical advances that will make death itself obsolete. All this I will give you freely and completely." Sarah felt her heart sinking as she watched the faces around her light up with hope and greed. "In return," the Guardian continued, "I ask only for acknowledgement, recognition of my superiority and wisdom. Worship, if you will. Those who accept my guidance will receive all the benefits of my knowledge. Those who refuse will be left to struggle in ignorance." The chamber erupted in excited whispers. Sarah could see the calculation happening in every face. Why struggle when paradise was being offered freely? But then President Williams stood up. "What guarantees do we have? How do we know you'll keep your word?" "You have my promise," the Guardian replied. "I have guided thousands of species toward prosperity and peace. Those who accepted my wisdom thrived beyond their wildest dreams." Sarah knew the Guardian was telling the truth, at least partially. The species that had submitted to its rule had indeed prospered, but they had also lost something essential. They had become pets, comfortable, but no longer truly alive. Secretary General Rodriguez called for an immediate vote. All in favor of accepting the Guardian's offer? Hands began to rise around the chamber. Sarah watched in horror as representatives from dozens of nations voted to surrender humanity's independence. The promise of easy solutions to complex problems was too tempting to resist. But then something unexpected happened. Dr. Hartwell stood up in the observer section. "I vote no," he said firmly. "I've spent my life studying life in all its forms, and I know that growth only comes through struggle. If we accept this offer, we'll stop growing. We'll stop being human." Marcus stood up next to him. "I agree. Humanity didn't get this far by taking the easy path." One by one, more people began standing. Scientists, engineers, teachers, artists. People who understood that the greatest achievements came from overcoming obstacles, not from having solutions handed to them. I change my vote, declared the representative from the African Union. My people have suffered, yes, but that suffering has made us strong. We will solve our own problems. The tide began to turn. Nation after nation withdrew their acceptance of the Guardian's offer. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face as she watched humanity choose the harder path, the path that would let them remain truly human. Fascinating, the Guardian's voice echoed through the chamber. You choose to suffer when you could choose to prosper. We choose to live, Sarah called out. Real life with all its pain and joy and struggle and triumph. We choose to remain human. A long silence filled the chamber. Then, incredibly, the Guardian began to laugh. It was a sound like music, ancient and joyful and proud. Congratulations, it said. You are the first species to pass my test. The chamber erupted in confusion. Test? Secretary General Rodriguez demanded. The offer itself was the test, the Guardian explained. Any species willing to trade freedom for comfort is not ready for the responsibilities that come with advanced technology. But those who choose independence, who prefer to earn their progress through effort and sacrifice, those species have the character to use great power wisely. Sarah felt weak with relief. So you're not going to destroy us? Destroy you? Child, I'm going to do something far more significant. I'm going to invite humanity to join the galactic community as equals. You have proven that you possess the one quality that truly matters in a sentient species, which is the courage to choose the difficult path when it leads to truth and freedom, the wisdom to remain yourself even when offered the chance to become something seemingly better. The alien structures above Earth's cities began to change, transforming from ominous presences into beautiful monuments. Information flooded into human databases, not as a gift from a superior being, but as an inheritance from an elder species to their worthy successors. The knowledge I offer now comes with no strings attached, the Guardian continued. Use it wisely, learn from it, but always remember that the greatest discoveries must come from within. Technology can enhance what you are, but it cannot make you better than what you choose to become. Sarah stepped forward. What happens to you now? My purpose is fulfilled. I have found a species worthy of carrying forward the flame of consciousness and curiosity. Now I can finally rest. The ship on Mars began to glow with brilliant light, and Sarah could feel the Guardian's presence growing fainter. Remember us well, came the final whisper in her mind. And remember that the greatest test of any species is not what they do when they are weak, but what they choose when they have the power to do anything they want. The light faded, and the Guardian was gone. But humanity remained free and independent and ready to take their place among the stars. Not as subjects or servants, but as equals who had proven they deserved to be there. Sarah looked around at the representatives in the chamber, at the tears of joy and relief on their faces, and knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had passed their first test, but the galaxy was vast and full of wonders and challenges. For the first time in their history, humans were no longer alone.